or strongmen who ended up, they were not like nicely handed over, right? It was always a kind of seemingly fugitive, manhunted situation.
Yeah, that's actually that's also followed in the U.S. and many other countries follow that rule. That's expressed in the Latin maxim, "Male captus, bene detentus." I mean, you are wrongfully uh, arrested, but the detention is good, is valid.
Valid. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um,
So all what they're doing now is saying that he was illegally arrested. There was no warrant of arrest. That one is passed already. That will not be considered at all by the ICC.
yeah, and no right was violated, right? Parang yun ang idea nila, 'di ba? Na parang Duterte's rights were like inherent rights were parang irreversibly like violated ganun. None of that flies with ICC.
Yes, because the ICC did not take part in that illegal seizure. They just received Duterte, and Duterte was voluntarily surrendered by the Philippine government. So you cannot fault the ICC.
Okay, now let's go to the mechanics before we go to Bato kasi I think Bato should listen very carefully because this could be his future. So my understanding is that usually the pretrial process within 4 to 6 weeks yan. Bakit September pa? Is it because mabigat yung mga kaso? This looks a pretty long period na yung
Well,
pretrial
for
proper
two
will
reasons,
start
yeah.
September pa. Parang tagal.
Yeah, for two reasons. First, that will give time for the defense and the prosecution to gather all their evidence, to prepare everything. And secondly, they have a lot of cases also. So uh,
Oh, I
it's not
see.
that
Oh,
it's
ano.
not that they're not doing anything. They can devote all their time to this case, but they have a lot of cases, and normally it takes 8 to 10 years for a case to be finally resolved. But I think this one will take. Uh, they can resolve this faster because all the evidence for the prosecution are in already. Because you have a this is unusual because you have here the uh, the Duterte death squad uh,
Bato
turning
and Las
state
Cañas.
witness, no,
Yeah.
turning witness against him. So there, I think three of them. So and then he had the lot. He has a lot of extrajudicial confessions. All his statements in media, in the Quadcom, in the Senate hearing, saying I'm responsible for everything. I ordered the killing. These are admissible in evidence.
Including by Harry Roque saying it's
Yeah.
laki ng problema niya. Can't he afford another lawyer? Di ba may mga, sino yung mga hinari niya? Was that like that Israeli guy from Cambridge or something? Parang may mga AFAM siyang lawyers, di ba? Di ba parang may
Well,
mga,
I read only that Cambridge guy and
yeah, that
Harry
came,
Roque and
yeah.
no, si Medaldea and the vice president.
The vice president, I'm not sure how she, I mean,
The
I don't,
vice president might also be an accused because
I thought accredited lawyers, ICC. Oh my God. This is crazy. This is crazy. So this is interesting, Justice. So actually, the fact that sobrang tagal mag-start yung pre-trial phase does not mean that the trial itself and potential, or some would say prospective, if not very probabilistic conviction will come earlier. So you're seeing the low range of possibly within 2 to 3 years. 3 years we could have a conviction already, right?
yeah, uh, that's optimistic, but I think it's doable because there are just so many evidence against Duterte. He has dozens, more than a dozen of admissions under oath because the proceedings in Quadcom and the Senate were under oath. So uh, these are statements acknowledging guilt.
Mga judges ICC like, is this a joke? I'm like, this guy has been implicated. How many episodes we had about Duterte? I mean, he must be the sloppiest alleged international criminal, right? Like, he's so sloppy. I mean, his own lawyer said things about him before. I mean, he says things about himself. I mean,
Well,
so
because he never thought that he would be arrested and brought to the Hague, no? Uh, he never envisioned this to happen. So that's why during the first hearing, he was so contrite, no?
So he never envisioned this because I think gusto natin balikan yung first theory natin nung nag-press conference tayo. So since we have talk justice, there are evolving theories. One theory is may bumaliktad, right? Um, may mole. Now, the Ronald Llamas version of mole was more like Sicario, like 007. But the one that is appearing now is more like someone very close to him daw. And someone na hindi rin gusto ng kabila ng pamilya na. Like, what do you say about that, Justice?
Well, it's
Is
all
it people like stabbing each
speculation.
other for mileage because they're competing to be Duterte's heir? I mean, what's going on here? Grabe yung
Well,
mga marites na yan, ha?
I really don't know. We don't have any evidence. So a lot of speculation going on, and there's even one saying that Duterte planned this.
Harikiri niyan, samurai.
He planned this because he will be acquitted by the ICC. That's why he was willing to
Oh,
go
wow.
there.
Oh, wow.
I really cannot understand.
That's what I'm saying. It's so. I mean, I never had a high regard for Duterte's intelligence and all, and I always wondered how he got through, which is really a indictment on our system. I mean, Justice, diba? He should have been disqualified from even running for president. Diba? His very presidency is an anomaly. He should have been disqualified. Diba yung replacement pa lang niya? I mean, I don't know. What is your stance? You think legit yung pagka-replacement niya noon nung tumakbo siya ng 2016? I mean, I know that there are many people who raise questions even on the legality of that.
Yeah, but they did not pursue it, so it's really water under the bridge. Uh, but we never thought that he would be brought to the Hague, but he was brought, and it changes everything because it's affecting also the domestic politics here. And I
Right.
think Sarah is also, well, potentially she might also be the subject of a warrant of arrest. So it's going to totally upset our domestic politics here.
Speaking of upset, I'm gonna talk about Mindanao stuff a little bit later on. I'm already not waters. Um, um, Justice, I wanna go back to this again. If the problem kasi nakikita namin dito is the press conference that BBM and his team gave right after the arrest, right? This is the day after we did our own press conference. Was not I mean, kung sophomoric yung isa, ito parang medyo juniorish, right? If I can put it that way. It was not the most, kasi ang basa ko kay BBM is, he's still hedging because alam niya marami rin hindi natuwa dito at pwede mag-turn yung public opinion sa kanya. Kasi parang marami pa rin naawa kay Diko. I don't know if you're doing what I'm doing. Parang my own Kalye survey, ang dami ko mga nakausap na folks, parang, just, and then say, kawawa naman, matanda na, ganyan-ganyan, di ba? So, maybe BBM, the reason na medyo hapyaw-hapyaw yung mga sinabi niya is because he doesn't, kasi you would expect him to rally the nation, di ba? This is the moment of vindication, this is the moment of justice, blah, blah. Pero hindi rin eh. Nag-octopus na naman siya on one hand, on the other hand. I don't know, what is your read? You think that was politically smart, but communication-wise, like, meh?
Well, I think basically he understands that uh, President Duterte still has a substantial following. That's one. Second, he's caught in a bind because he already committed not to cooperate with the ICC. So it would not look good if he would be turning back on his word because he repeatedly stated that he will not cooperate. So that's why they have to think of this uh, assistance. They're using the Interpol. Uh, so uh, it's a very they painted themselves into a corner, and it's difficult for them to get out. But luckily, there's that principle in international law adopted by the ICC that the ICC will not inquire into the manner of the arrest. As long as you are handed over to the ICC, they will proceed with the trial. So
Yeah.
this one becomes a sideshow now. Even if our Supreme Court will say that uh, he should been, they should have secured a warrant of arrest from a Philippine judge, it's too late because he cannot be brought back here anymore.
So ano yung mga memes na lumilitaw na bring back Digong, bring back the man? Parang sabi ko, bakit ano ba nangyari? Like, tapos ang meme ng mga tao, ano bang gamit? Shopee, Zalora, or Timo? Paano ba? I mean, people are so mean. Grabe talaga yung mga tao. Bring back our hero, mga ganun. Um, Going back to this justice, kasi the reason I'm asking about the problem basically that the administration has is now we're gonna go to the Bato case, diba? Kasi um it comes off as political convenience, political calculus move, right? Whatever they want to say about cooperation with Interpol, blah blah blah, we have no choice. My thing is, wouldn't it be smart? It might come off as damage control, but I will take that for the sake of the victims. For him to call for on the Congress to rejoin the ICC in the next Congress and also form, of course, hindi kaya ng, you know this, I mean, Supreme Executive cannot do this, but the legislature could go and push for a Truth and Justice Commission, or I don't know, something like a Justice Commission, Reconciliation Commission. Isn't that the next logical move to give a kind of a moral ballast and gravitas to this move?
Well, I agree. I'm in favor of returning to the ICC. We rejoined the ICC. I think uh, that's good because we don't want another Duterte to be committing extrajudicial killings amounting to 30,000 people dead. No, so I think going back to the ICC will probably scare any would-be Duterte from doing
Exactly.
this again. Uh, the the other thing is for the Truth Commission. Well, that's okay, but uh, there will be cases that the cases in the case in the ICC will continue, and that I think will people will follow that because that's the actual trial of Duterte, and the Truth Commission might be overshadowed.
Hindi
We
pwede
still have a lot of we still have a lot of lower echelon people who actually did the killing, who actually pulled the trigger. And what do we do with that? Because
Kaya nga, can't the commission be more about that, na the systematic nature of this beyond just the headmaster, right? Or beyond the chief architect? Because Digong is the chief architect, and we'll talk about Bato very shortly, right? But there were hundreds of officers potentially involved in this. So this is a security sector reform. This is a national healing, right? Parang healing process issue, right? So hindi kaya kailangan ng isang komite or isang commission kung saan yung mga biktima, they can come out, their stories could be heard because they're not gonna have that in ICC, right? Maybe Matubato, Las Cañas, whatever, but something more mas malawakan, and then gawa tayo ng museum na never again, something like that. Hindi kaya yun yung parang next logical step, Justice? But I just don't
well,
see any other way eh.
this is similar to what happened right after martial law because our military, right after martial law, the military personnel were used to abuses, human rights abuses, and they had to shift. It took some time. The military, the top brass, made a conscious effort to uh, embed the idea of human rights. So they went through several courses on human rights until they imbibed it, and now you hardly see here widespread human rights abuses from the military. But our problem is those who actually did the killing are still there in the PNP now, and they have developed a mindset that they can just kill civilians at any time,
Yeah.
and that's a dangerous mindset. Now, how do you solve that? How do you remove them, or how do you take away that mindset from them So we'll have to go through a crash course of human rights education uh, to all of the PNP personnel in the same way that the military leadership went through uh, did to the soldiers after martial law. So there has to be
Yeah,
a
you secretly
yeah
sector reform. Yes.
an educational program for them to so that they will throw away this mindset of extrajudicial killing because the people are there. Once you have done this, once you've crossed that divide that you can kill another without any due process, that they will be using this throughout their career already. So we have to uh, re-indoctrinate them. I mean, re-educate them and reinstill the value of human rights. And for me, that will take time. It took probably 10 years for the military really to change their mindset. So it will probably take another 10 years for the police to change its mindset.
Well, the other implication of this ICC is it's an indictment on our justice system, 'di ba? Ang ibig sabihin niyan, nag-fail yung justice system natin, 'di ba? Katulad ng sinabi ni, for instance, ni Judge Pangalangan, nangyari ito dahil wala naman korte uh, taking on this case, 'di ba? At mukhang malabo na any judge was ever willing or would have ever been willing to take on Rodrigo Duterte on any of these cases regardless of the gravity of the evidence, right? So ito po
Well,
indictment din ito sa ating justice system, Justice Carpio, in a way that we have to
yes.
wait for ICC to do this.
Yeah, it's an indictment of our justice system. But remember, the justice system, there are several elements. It's not only the judiciary. A lot of that is the executive because
Law
the
enforcement.
justice system starts with investigation of the crime. That's done by PNP and the
Okay.
NBI.
Ay, sorry.
After the
Yeah.
investigation, you have a preliminary investigation that's done by the DOJ. That's all. They are all under the office of the president. After the uh, preliminary investigation, they will have to prepare and file the information, the criminal information that's done by the DOJ. That's under the office of the president. And then you have to prosecute. The prosecution is done by the DOJ under the office of the president. The last part is the judgment, the decision. That's now the court, the judiciary. But the judiciary is a passive. They will wait for the information to be filed. They will wait for the prosecution to present the evidence. So because the judiciary has to be neutral, to be fair, it will be passive. So a lot of the work will be the work of the executive branch. So when you speak of failure of the justice system, you're really talking of the work of the executive branch. And that's why up to today, there has been no criminal information filed before any court against Duterte. And so how can you blame the judiciary when there was no case filed against Duterte? They cannot decide a case that was never filed with them.
So
So
what you're saying, the problem is from downstream, and downstream is
yeah,
executive agencies. Yeah.
and this is where and Duterte controls all of this. They controls the NBI, the PNP, the judiciary, the prosecution service are all under his control. Control means he can reverse them at any time. He can instruct them what to do. So that's why there was no investigation against Duterte while he was a president. The other thing is, as president, he cannot even be sued while in office.
Immunity, yeah. Sovereign
Yeah,
immunity.
so it was really a case of the government being unable and unwilling to investigate and prosecute Duterte. So that's why the ICC came in. So uh, how can they say that we we uh, we should have we should not turn over this case to the ICC? But how do you prosecute Duterte during when he was president? He was the one who was giving instruction to the PNP, the police, the NBI, the DOJ, uh, whether to investigate him. Of course, they will not investigate him because he is the boss. So
And
that's
that's a very
why this
important
is a
point, Justice. You're talking about, you're saying the rot at the core of the apple is it comes from the executive to begin with. And I want to ask a
Yes.
question about that. Menardo Guevara, what's up with that? I mean, he recuse himself? Like, what's going? Why is he even there? I don't get it. I mean, hasn't he been for some? I mean, some have been saying he's essentially an enabler of Duterte, right? He has been kicking the can down there. Why is he even there?
Well, he is saying that his position has always been that the ICC has no jurisdiction over Duterte. But the Supreme Court already ruled on that. The Supreme Court
Kaya nga,
ruled
hindi ko
that,
maintindihan. Why is he even hired? I mean, is he hired there to
yeah,
spread false information?
yeah, that argument has been demolished already by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously said that the Philippines has a duty to cooperate, and ICC has jurisdiction over crimes committed while the Philippines
The residual
was a
jurisdiction.
member of the ICC,
The result.
was a treaty party to the Rome Statute. So how can he keep on insisting that uh, that has been their position, that the ICC has no jurisdiction? The Supreme Court already unanimously said that the ICC retains jurisdiction over offenses committed while we were a party to the Rome Statute. I mean, for him to use that argument is totally baseless.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why is he there? Why is he hired? I mean,
Well, that means his
nothing
loyalty
smart. I
is
mean,
to Duterte
di ba
because,
Medialdia law firm, I mean, they're buddies with Medialdia, right? I mean, they're
well, he's a partner, but
partner,
he
right?
was the deputy executive secretary of Duterte, and he became the Justice Secretary, Department of Justice Secretary of Duterte for a
Could
long
he be
time.
also held accountable? Could he?
Well, and he did not initiate any investigation because he took over from Aguirre. Remember that, so he should have started the investigation on the extrajudicial killings, but he did not.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to be fair to Harry Roque. I think, in fairness to Harry Roque, compared to this guy, I think this guy had more direct role in shielding Duterte, right? Than Harry Roque. Harry Roque was just doing Harry Roque stuff as a spokesman. But speaking of, parati ako, nasaan si Bato? Ganun ako, no? But actually, nasaan si Aguirre? Isn't Aguirre also kind of implicated here?
Well, I think he's in the second batch of those to be arrested. To be,
Oh.
yeah. So, but this is very strange for the Solicitor General to refuse to defend the government because the government, the president himself said that we cooperated with Interpol, and he didn't, if he has to follow that line, if uh, because that's the directive from the president to use that Interpol theory. But he said no, the ICC has no jurisdiction. That has been my position ever since. That's what he was saying. But that has been debunked by the Supreme Court unanimously.
The Justice, maybe you can just tell me off the record, why on earth is he there? That's also what Trillanes has been asking. Sino ba? Ang bata ni Digong yan, why is he even there? Kaya I have suspicion, baka was he being used to pass on wrong information. But anyway, I don't want to get into those things. I'm just, yeah, it makes you think, diba? It really, it beggars the question, like, why is he even there to begin with, considering everything, right? His position, his questionable take, whatever. Now let's talk about Bato. So Bato is asking sanctuary in the Senate. Is he saying that ano siya, feeling niya ano siya, Trillanes siya, basically ganun? Can we clarify that the two cases are not the same, if ever that's the line of argument he wants to draw?
Well, the Constitution says that no member of the Senate, while the Senate is in session,
Yan. Ayan na yung session thing. Baka nga mag-session na sila.
can be arrested for an offense punishable by more than 6 years imprisonment. I mean, punishable by less than
Less than 6 years.
six
Yeah, yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
less.
this is the
Way
punishment
more.
here will be more than 6 years. So he cannot invoke that provision. So I don't know why even Senate President Cheese is saying that he will not allow the the arresting officers to enter the Senate But the immunity is only while the Senate is in session, and the offense is punishable by less than 6 years imprisonment.
Baka, Justice, he will